It bothers you because, yeah, that's my mom. Yeah, that's my Elohim. But you're not obeying me. So guess what? I can use this person. They listen. Um, so you see the diligent and the industrious. And then in Joshua, like in Yahoshua 1:5, he said, no one will be able to stand against you. You see that they went in verse, they went in and Yahuwah or Yahweh discomfited them before Israel. What does discomfited them mean? He made them real uncomfortable. They traveled all night, as you see, day and night. They traveled through night. They discomfited the camp, and they destroyed them. And those that they didn't destroy, Yah did it. You see how we do now as nations? Oh, Korea, they have weapons of mass destruction. Oh, Russia has the blah, blah, blah missiles, and the United States is a superpower. We have this. What did Yah use to kill them with? Hailstones. He got weapons of mass destruction. We're just making a mess. We spending money, unnecessary resources to fight other nations when what's going to be is going to be already. It's all killed more than the men fighting. Sure did. And so people like, that don't sound right. So from Beth Horon to Azekah was 15 miles, or at least 4,000 feet. For 15 miles, he killed them with hail. They were trying to flee. He killed them with the hailstones. So some people might say, the Bible, that's poppycock. That stuff in the Bible, that ain't true. Well, in 1888, it was recorded in North India that some hailstones came down and they weighed in between 4 and 5 pounds. Let them come hailing down on you, and like over 256 people died. See, if it hits you in the head, it won't kill you. You get your.
And it was only 4 or 5 pounds. You heard about the hailstones that came down that were like 100 pounds?
Wow, see, they exist. They had some the size of cricket balls, golf balls, egg size. Some hailstones can come, and you'll need a snow plow to remove them. So, yeah, these men fleeing and you out in the middle of nowhere and them hailstones hitting you, you ducking and dodging, getting a stone. Like a brick shower. That's a real brick shower. Brick shower. And we see also in Exodus 23:28 how Yah, again, we think we have weapons of mass destruction, but nature obeys the Creator. And it obeys to either bring blessings to the people, or it can obey to bring destruction or discipline. Yeah. So we see in Exodus 23:28, he used hornets. He used hornets to drive out the Hivites, the Canaanites, and the Hittites. The whole earth obeys Yah. He commands it, and it happens. And you can find this scripture in Psalms 33:6-9. And then he says, in Colossians 7:16, that's right. Somebody want to read that?
Colossians what?
7:16. I'm sorry, is that a 1? Let me make sure. Because there ain't 7 chapters in Colossians. 1:16. Yeah, I was going to say that's 1. Let me see.
For by him were all
Yeah.
things created.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's a 1.
For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thorns or dominions, yeah, or principalities or powers. All things were created by him
and for him. He said, I've given it to you. So the earth obeys, the wind obeys, nature obeys, and everything was created by me and for me. So even these kings were created by me and for me to do what I have to, what I'd like to have done with them. So again, the weapons of mass destruction that we have are nothing compared to what Yah can do. He speaks to the water. We see that in Jeremiah 10:13. He uses the wind to blow. That's Psalms 147, 7 through 9, and 12 and 18. He employs nature. He employs, he don't need nothing. It's a privilege to be called to participate in procuring your inheritance. He could do it. He could do it, but he even gives us an opportunity to take part in what he's given us. So, you know, that should put something on your mind when you called into ministry. I do it a lot of times, like, oh, I ain't even going tomorrow. Like, I talk myself out, like I said, I can talk myself out of the day before, the night before it happened. But no, you have been called to participate in something that the Most High is doing. And when he gives you a position to stand in it and do it with excellence to the best of your ability. He's going to do the rest. What did he do? He said, you go fight. And he showed them. He said, okay, when they start running, I got it. Don't worry about it. Nature also reveals that he is Elohim. And so he uses that opportunity when he calls you in to partake in taking your inheritance back. He uses that opportunity to show the nations who he is. That didn't go unheard of. Nature bears witness of his holiness as well. And then nature reveals his righteousness. All of this, he uses it. He can use the fire to call down the fire to burn up his adversaries, or he can use it to consume a sacrifice, one or the other. So all of these things were are evidence of who he is. He uses nature to bless his people for faith and obedience. And he also, again, like I said, he uses the forces of nature to protect his people. In this case, he used the forces of nature to protect his people. The next point is the enemy fled. We see that once they found out they couldn't fight, they ran, right? The word is a what? I always say, I've heard others say it too, but the word is a sword, but it's a lion too. All you got to do is let it out the cage. It's going to fight for itself. You just be obedient and do with it what I've called you to do with it. If I call you to speak it, I said in season, out of season, when it's popular, when it ain't, you don't have to go forth like how the Christian church, you don't got to knock on people's doors, witness and do all that. Because the witness is there. People come asking with our tzitzits, with the tassels, with the things that we proclaim that Yah has done. They'll ask, well, how do you know this? That's your opportunity to take you to the word. Let me show you. Let me show you what he's done. That's your opportunity. So the word is a lion. Just let it out. Let it out the cage. It'll fight. You don't have to go around picking arguments, harassing folks. Nothing. A lot of times they're gonna come to you. You see what people did. One or two things. You're faced with a choice when the information is given to you. You can do one or the other. You can research it to prove it, or you can ignore it. Sheba was wise. She searched it to prove it, to see that it was true. And then you see the other ones ignored it and they wanted to fight. But truth is true. Just because you don't like what it is, you don't like what's said, don't mean it's not true. It is what it is. So the enemy fled. So they were ill-equipped for battle, they found out. And it's so crazy when you look at the name And that's why I always tell I tell my students when I'm facilitating, the names are important. Names point you to places. Names have meanings. In the Hebrew or Hebraically, you didn't name haphazardly. You name a person again according to their attributes, or after their fathers, or after their character. So the enemy fled. And does anyone remember at the end of 8, he says it again, I have given them to you. I gave them to you. So Makeda in the Hebrew is 4719, and it's in a sense it's like a herding, or a place where there's herding of land. So where'd they go hide? In a cave in Makeda, like herd of sheep. They had been branded already for what was going to happen to them. So they herded themselves right onto the cave. The stone was rolled over the cave, and they sat there until they was done fighting. And then when everybody else was done, it was specifically a special killing for them. A special kind of killing. So it was a mark by puncturing or branding. Hebrew in your Strong's Hebrew, you can find it 5348. So it meant by marked by branding or puncturing or spotting or speckled. So they were already called out, and they were called out into a certain cave for their final destination. So does anybody remember the 7 sons of Sceva? How they came ill-equipped? Look at Acts 19:11 through 14. The enemy can't succeed against us unless we're disobedient. And so, look at what happened here. These 5 kings. We have an example of the 7 sons of the high priest. Somebody read that. Acts 19:11 through 14.
Yahushua worked unusual miracles by the hands of Shaul, so that even the handkerchiefs or aprons were brought from his body to the sick, and the diseases left them, and the evil spirits went out of them. Then some of the itinerant Jewish exorcists took it upon themselves to call upon the name of the name of Yahushua HaMashiach over those who had evil spirits, saying, we exorcise you by the Yahushua whom Shaul preaches. Also, there were 7 sons of Sceva, a Jewish chief priest, who did so. And the evil spirit answered and said, Yahushua I know, and Shaul I know, but who are you? Then a man in whom the evil spirit was leapt on them, overpowered
Can you give us 5
them, and
minutes?
prevailed against them, so that they all fled out of the house, and they did evil.
So we see that ill-equipped, they came fighting against Yahoshua, or Yahoshua, and they ended up herded into a cave, whooped, and eventually murdered. So we look at the names. Adonai Zedek, his name meant the right equity, or you can see that in Hebrews 6663. He was the Lord of justice. He was a Canaanite king. He was his name meant sovereign controller. Then you see Hoham. He was just a Canaanite king. His name didn't mean anything. But Param, his name meant wild or wily, a wild ass. So he got his wild ass running into a cave. Japhia meant bright, or the root of shine, or to be light, or to show light. And the Debir was an Amorite king. His name meant shrine of the innermost part of the sanctuary. So he was ran into a cave. And so when you go back and you start looking at their names, look at what their names meant. And this one here, who conjured up all of them to come together to fight against Yahoshua and his people, thought he was going to fight for his position, but he was ill-equipped because he didn't have the Most High on his side. Which one? That was Adonai Zedek. And I'll give you the Hebrew Strong's numbers afterwards because this is coming out. But Ashar, Yah will do it. So he said, this is what Yah will do to all that come against you when you're under obedience. He'll put his foot on their neck and he will deliver them unto you. And that word is asah, Hebrews 62:13. And he'll bring it forth. So he put them to death and they were buried. And then we're going to, you can probably do the rest of the lesson yourself, because I did put references, and you can look at the verse and you can go and look at the scripture that I put that goes along with it. Thank you, ladies, and I'll put the rest of this up on my video when I get done editing.